Doom and Quake developer Sandy Petersen and I talk about the BFG origins, Doom combat puzzle creation, Quake monsters and bosses, and the literal most insane Doom story I've ever heard.
Well, you heard the story about how the BFG got invented? So the BFG originally, John Carmack's idea was, you had the blast or whatever you call it, the plasma gun that shot the plasma bolts.
Yeah.
And that was great. The idea was that the BFG would fire a huge ton of these plasma bolts in all different colors, echoing and bouncing off the walls and filling the corridor. And so he made that, and it turns out that no matter how the corridor is really narrow, a shotgun blast like that needs to get hit with like 3 plasma bolts.
Yeah.
So it was totally not doing what it was supposed to do.
I think too the way they have I like the direction it went myself.
Well, that was me this time, because I said, look, do you remember Defender back in the day? And they go, yeah. Remember how Defender had a smart bomb? They said, yeah. That's what we want the thing to do. We want it to be a smart bomb, so it should shoot something out there, then blow up and kill everything in the room. And
that's what it did.
Carmack's technique for doing that was he put that weird AI in, where if you're looking at it, it gets you that kind of thing.
All the tracers that blast out.
And that became the BFG, which, by the way, John Romero is on record saying that it means big fun gun.
Big fun gun, yes.
That's what it means. So that is for you to pass on.
Anyway,
I was proud of having made that addition to the game. I did not come up with the grenade launcher, which I love, or the zombies, which I also love. But hey, that's why it was a team effort. That's why you have a team doing video games, not just one guy.
Oh yeah. It's neat to look back at how things have changed, and like I said earlier, I grew up. I was 33, so this game's part of my childhood, and to look back as an adult now and see where it came from, how it grew over the years, it's really neat to see. Yeah.
He was not bitter exactly, but he was sad when he didn't get to do the sound on Quake because, of course, we had Trent Reznor. Whom I had no idea who that was, because that wasn't my kind of music. But all the other guys were like super, super excited to have him. I looked him up and said, "Oh, okay, he's done some albums."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He came by and they all went out to dinner with him. And I think I told the story before, but someone slipped PCP into American McGee's drink.
Wow.
So he was sick like the next 2 days. And we think it was the drummer from Pantera, but we don't know for sure.
Oh, Vinny.
It wasn't Trent.
Oh man.
For sure.
That's a wild story. It is.
Yeah. So it made me glad I did not go out with them, because heck knows what that would have done for me.
Oh yeah.
So one of the things is, before I went to id Software, one of the things that made me excited about going to work for them was I had played Wolfenstein 3D.
Oh yeah.
And get this, my one of my coworkers at Microprose Software, the company I was previously, he actually was the designer of the original Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, the 3D one?
Yeah.
So I mean, basically they like took Wolfenstein and made it 3D, and it was of course a whole different game, but it was kind of a cool connection. So
it is. I remember.
So anyway, I went there. I played Wolfenstein. I loved the fact that the boss was Hitler in a power suit. You know, that you actually get to kill Hitler, and I liked the way it worked. And what I noticed in Wolfenstein is that each room you enter is like a little tactical puzzle.
Yeah.
You go into the room and you figure out the puzzle to kill them, right? But the thing is, all the monsters in Wolfenstein, except for the bosses, I guess, are just upgrades of weaker ones. I guess maybe the dog's a little different, but there's like the guy that has the crappy pistol, the guy that has the machine gun, the guy that has the bigger, and it's just a scale, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to do in Doom, which we did do, it wasn't just me, right? It was a whole team. Yeah. Was we wanted not only to have monsters that got stronger, but different types of monsters. So the tactical puzzle was more than just figuring out where they were and where you had to dodge, who you had to shoot first, but what's this guy going to do that's different? So if you're fighting a mancubus, and a spider baby, then it's Arachnotron, I guess that's what I call them, but they were originally spider babies, but then nobody wanted to call it that for obvious reasons, so Arachnotron.
Yeah.
But it's a different puzzle than like some of the monsters do just scale up, like the imp and the Hell Knight is just bigger. Cacademon's slightly different because it can fly.
Yeah, I think it's different.
You can do fun things with it in the puzzle that make it look cool, but that level of Tricks and Traps where they come floating out of the holes in the wall.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
It is.
But
nice.
usually then the AI makes them come down to your level and walk along, so they're boring after that. But anyway, that was the.
It is a puzzle. You know, you can have a pinky that's.
It's a puzzle. It's a tactical puzzle on how to shoot, and the different creatures just make it a lot more rich than Wolfenstein was.
What if you have a pinky that's up close pressuring you, and in the distance you have a chain gunner, and you have to figure out.
You want to hit the chain gunner with your rocket, but you can't do it because there's a pinky right there.
Exactly.
And you want your chain off of that, which is worthless against the chain gunner.
And
your only hope is to get between the chain gunner and the pinky so it shoots him, and then he runs back towards that guy.
And some players might get distracted by the pinky and ignore the chain gunner. That's the point of the puzzle. I do think too with Wolfenstein how each bullet did the same amount of damage, but each gun was an upgrade to the rate of fire. Going back to the combat puzzle with Doom, you have different guns, and not just the same bullet type.
Right. Yeah. And whereas in Doom 1, it's a real choice between the shotgun and the chain gun.
Yeah.
The shotgun is absolutely better against imps.
Different purposes. The pain chance of the chain gun versus the pain elemental.
We kind of messed it up with the double-barrel shotgun.
Oh, it's become a classic, though.
Lost some of its panache.
Yeah, it's different. I actually just did a video on the SSG, chronicling its history over the past almost 30 years, and it was neat to do the research for that video, go back and see the origins, and it's still an iconic gun, though.
It is, yeah. The really cool weapon I thought we added for Quake was the grenade launcher. That was interesting. The fact you could arch it around corners and do fun things.
Tactics.
That was neat. That was I think the best new weapon. Because it was just interesting.
Anything you can have tactical and learn.
Cool too. What?
Anything you can be tactical and learn how to use, like you said, make the player feel good about learning how to use something.
Yeah. Yeah, and the grenade launcher also, when the ogres are throwing it at you, it's like a different kind of a threat.
Yeah.
Which was cool. The zombies were an interesting new enemy because they threw bits of themselves at you, and if you didn't jib them, they'd come back. So that was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
Which meant the first time you fought them, like you were taken by surprise when they came back.
Oh yeah, good interesting stuff to have different and
again, if you jib them, they don't come back for the same reason that the Archfile can't resurrect jibs. It doesn't know it was a zombie anymore.
That's neat. It's neat to know the little behind the scenes thing, and
the way was discovered in play in Doom 1 is that John's AI was that if a monster got hit by something, then it would go after the guy that hit it. And the idea behind that was that it would go after whichever player was shooting it. So if two players were cooperating level, which I think like 0.1% of all games was that, right? Everyone, it's either deathmatch or solo. But they would go back. You can make it go back and forth. But what happened is the emergent play was that it turned out that the monsters also sensed if an attack was from a different monster, not just a person.
Yeah.
But it has to be a different monster because once you throw a fireball, it can't tell whether the fireball is from this imp or that imp. So if an imp fireball hits another imp, it doesn't care.
It's just an imp in general.
It could be its fireball.
Yeah.
Yeah. But however, bullets, like being shot by the human zombies, those don't belong to the zombies. Those are just things that, like, they're just sprites, right?
Yeah.
So so a soldier can fight another soldier or start a fight with someone else, but so that's why the secret level in episode 2 was all made to capitalize on that.
I was just about to ask about Fortress.
So cool.
Just about to ask about it. Very in-fight heavy.
It was, I think, 4 Hell Knights against 10 Cacodemons, and if you time it right, they just about kill each other off, and you can help the side that's losing to kind of team it down. But when John Romero first played that, his eyes about bugged out.
Oh no!
If I go into the other room, there's 10 Cacodemons, and you can't figure it out. And
it's
then
a puzzle.
And then the thing is, when you do figure it out, you feel super smart. Which is one of my game design rules is make the players feel smart when they figure something out.
That's a good thing to do.
I plan for you to win it that way, but you still feel smart.
Rewards them. Is there anything looking back that you'd put into Doom 2 now, if you were making it right now today, a type of monster? Or do you think if you were to put a new monster into Doom 2 today, do you have any ideas you'd like to do, or are you pretty satisfied with where it went?
At the time, there was a bunch of monsters I wanted to add that I couldn't do because of time. But most of the ideas I had were things that eventually went into Quake.
Oh, okay.
Like the Vor and the Blob and like that. So a lot of the Quake thing, like the Shambler, which is another Lovecraft thing with the lightning thing, that was, you know, that kind of thing. So actually I take it back. The Shambler wasn't the thing that I wanted for Doom. It was pure for Quake, because in Quake we invented the lightning bolt, and then it was just a cool thing to have a monster shoot.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I mean, I would have liked to have maybe more boss things. Maybe to have rebalanced the Spider Elemental Mastermind so it was actually good. Maybe something that flew and shot you from above. I mean, it might be so good in Doom because you can't look up. In Quake, it would have been good. I guess we have the Scrags.
Still cool though. I think too.
I had the idea once that they shot down, which was the monster that burrowed and emerged from the ground. That you'd be animation, then it would pop up and try to bite you, and you'd jump away and then shoot it when it popped up. But cool. I got shot down. So.
But my favorite Doom 2 map, the Spirit World. You see them right at the start, and that just sets the tone. Archfire to follow. Speaking of maps, I know we're talking mostly about monsters, but what's your favorite Doom 2 map that you made? You made, I believe, what, 50% of them, give or take?
I made
favorite one.
17 out of 32.
17.
Yeah, slightly more than half. My favorite map. I was always very proud of the Barrels of Fun level.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the way it starts at the beginning, where you have to just time the run through the barrels just right.
That Mancubus at the start,
It was basically lots of barrels. And then I also am really proud of all things of the... what's the one that has 8 different doors? Each lead to some horrible nightmare
Tricks and Traps, map number 8. Oh, yes.
Tricks and Traps, yeah.
Yep. Followed up by...
Tricks and Traps, so that was that. John Romero did the Ultimate City map, which is pretty cool. I tried to make one to compete with it, because I did the first city map, in Doom 1, and then everyone liked that. Then they were trying to do a city map too, but then his city map in Doom 2 was like really good, so I was jealous.
Oh yeah, there's lots of classic maps. I grew up through the 90s, so I grew up with this game, so it really stuck with me over the years. The Pit is a classic, like you said, Tricks and Traps.
Serious Sam was a real wake-up call.
Oh yeah.
It should have been a wake-up call for us, because Serious Sam was. This is the time they were starting to work on Quake 2 and getting ready for Doom 3, and the company was going the direction of having fewer monsters. Everyone whined about I had 1 billion monsters on my levels, which I did, right? And I made the engine chug, and that was right. That's always the thing in every company I've worked at, is that the programmers try to make the engine go as smooth as possible, and the artists want to add giant images that clog it up, and the designers have to balance between them. And at Ensemble Studios and at Microprose, then the designer was kind of in charge of that balance.
Right.
But it was absolutely the programmers in charge, and so they were like, they tyrannically got upset when I made levels with 1 million creatures because it chugged, and I couldn't fight back about it. But I was still trained to have the game be fun, so I wanted to have the 1 million monsters, and then because they decided that 1 million monsters was bad, they went the direction of having, like Doom 3, it's like you have this huge giant level with like one single monster you have to kill. That's kind of an exaggeration, but not by enough. So Serious Sam comes out, and it's 1 million monsters, and it's like super fun. Yeah. And even the guys at id knew it was fun, but it didn't change the path. I think probably because that time so many of us were leaving the company. Michael Abrash left, Dave Taylor left, I left, eventually Adrian Carmack left, Sean Green left, John Romero left, everyone left. So it wasn't really the same id.
It's a little
anymore.
different.
It was many elements were still the same in Quake 2, and it started Doom 3. By the end, it was a whole different group.
To kind of switch it around a little bit, have you played? I know Doom 64 is a little different midway games, but do you think that its dark vibe suited it well?
Doom 64, you mean for the Nintendo?
Yeah.
I mean, I had to make all the levels for that.
Yeah, it's got a very nice dark vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, what happened is that whenever we did anything like that for Nintendo or something, or we had to like really simplify the levels, then that was a boring job. So I got assigned to do it because John Romero wouldn't do it, and I was the designer, right? So, which is fine. I mean, that's why I got paid the big bucks, right? So I had to go through Doom and to make it fit in the Nintendo, all the monsters have one, they only have one direction they go, and I had to make all the levels a lot less chuggy. So windows had to go away. Lots of places where there was like a pillar made it harder for the engine, so those had to change. So basically, I think it was a side effect of the fact that I had to make all these changes to the levels that made it look darker.
Yeah.
Plus they had the cool new sky box, which is just a lake of fire. That was pretty neat.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's what made it darker. Less windows. The lighting, I kind of went through and changed the lighting around, because a lot of the places where there was windows and stuff, there'd be more light, so I would take it away. So I think it wasn't really intentional on my part, but I'm glad you liked it.
Oh yeah.
It was serendipitous.
Well, that's most.
Like when we did Wolfenstein 3D for the Nintendo, we had to change the blood to white. Because red blood was bad, which was awesome because it looked like the guys were like doing a money shot whenever you killed them. And then we couldn't kill the police dogs.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
We had to turn them into giant rats, which sound and act like police dogs. And I guess you can kill rats, but you can't kill dogs. And if you read the book, I think it has some note that the creatures are all supposed to be androids or something. But wow. I guarantee you 0 people that played it thought they were androids. They were all just shooting the SS. Carmack loved the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Because he thought it was a really cool thing to program for. So everyone else said, John, it's going to sell like 18 copies. He didn't care. He's going to support the Jaguar. And so nobody else would help him on it except I got assigned to. So I got to do all the levels for the Jaguar. And now you know.
That is pretty cool to know. Yeah.
But John Romero wasn't usually about the money. He was always interested in what was interesting or fun to program for. He once got this is in the 90s when it was cool. He rented a Cray supercomputer.
Oh.
Because he really wanted to have one to work with. And then the other owners made him send it back.
Oh no.
It's like,
oh man.
I mean, I guess there aren't even supercomputers anymore the way they used to be. But they were pretty cool back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, the 90s were a good time for PCs and gaming and everything. I fully agree. Cool.
But the art with the 4 legs. So here's the thing. So in Quake, see, it's true 3D, right?
Right.
So one of the things that we could do is enlarge and shrink things easily enough. So American McGee made a level with a giant zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Like a 100-foot tall zombie, and gave it a whole bunch of hit points. And that was, basically what had happened is that because John Carmack didn't want to spend any programming power on Quake, that meant that he wasn't going to make any more monsters. Basically, after he made Chthon, the big split-headed thing, which even the look of that came from one of my books, Sandy Petersen's Guide to Monsters.
Oh, sweet.
Which there's a monster in there with a vertical mouth, kind of like a vagina, and he loved that, so he put that in. Sweet. And a lot of the monsters' looks came from that book, like the blobs in Quake. I can't remember what they're called, but those blobs are directly out of it. The Spawn, I think they're called.
Cool influences there.
Yeah, a lot of little Lovecraftian influences, and Shub-Niggurath is from that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you? I know it's
right. So Chthon and Shub-Niggurath are both from Lovecraft, and so but he didn't want to spend time on doing a lot of other unique things. So basically, me and American McGee, we said, look, we got 4 episodes in this. We're missing 2 bosses. Plus, the fact that Carmack wouldn't do anything for Shub-Niggurath meant that all she could do was sit there. Yeah. So we had to come up with some way to make Shub-Niggurath interesting.
Had to get creative. Yeah. I see.
Which, was not trivial. Just like in Doom. So,
what about the?
But we didn't have any other bosses. So American McGee and I said we need bosses for levels 2 and 3. So he made the giant zombie.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And the problem with the giant zombie is, of course, that it stretched all the textures too, so that if you're close up at it, it just looked terrible. But if you're at a distance, it looks like a giant zombie. It's cool, but the artists basically couldn't tolerate having it look like that, and they didn't have time to make a detailed one. And so the giant zombie didn't make it into the final game, which is too bad. And I made a giant vor as well to be an enemy. And it was on this level. It was in this big pool of water, and you had all these like girders and stuff you had to climb up to shoot at it and try to avoid things that were shooting at you. And but again, because it was giant and the textures were stretched, they made us delete it. And that's why levels 2 and 3 don't have any bosses. And that's why Shub-Niggurath is kind of a weird, not super fun boss.
But its own way, yeah.
Like a trick boss. You figure it out, and I mean, it wasn't my level, right? But you figure out how to beat it, and then you do it. But it's not this amazing, cool boss. It's not as cool as Cthon really Chthon's not that cool because you just have to go. It's just like it's more like the Chthon's like a Zelda boss.
Zelda's
you figure out the tactic and you get it. Whereas the bosses in Doom I thought were much better.
Check out the other part of the interview where we talk about the Doom monster creation and naming. Thank you to the channel members for the support, and thank you for watching.